Quite a few searchers believed that Forrest hid his treasure chest in Yellowstone. Many still believe that. With all of Forrest's talk about Yellowstone, including a chapter in The Thrill of the Chase entitled In Love with Yellowstone, that was not an unreasonable initial opinion. Forrest was practically shouting Yellowstone from the rooftops. In addition to the obvious Yellowstone references, Forrest included subtle hints pointing toward Yellowstone as well. It was those subtle hints that caught my attention. One of those subtle hints is in the Sweet Fragrances chapter of Once Upon a While. Forrest hinted at Yellowstone with the statement, "I felt jaundiced and had to suck on an ice cube. Jaundice plus ice equals yellow plus stone." Another subtle hint is in a story by Forrest entitled The Dragon Bracelet that appeared on DaleNeitzel.com. Forrest talks about trading a 43-carat canary diamond to Eric Sloan for a Campbell's soup box full of money and the dragon coat bracelet that made its way into the treasure chest. One of the many things that stand out in that story is the canary diamond. A canary diamond is a yellow diamond, a yellow stone. On a related note, I've talked elsewhere about the importance of the word eye, as in eyeball, and I've given lots of examples as to how the word eye applies to the poem's solution. Well, there happens to be a real story about a famous 43-carat canary diamond that was seized by the feds and sold at auction. I think this was in 2011. Like all famous diamonds, this one had a name. That name, Goldeneye. Gold in eye. Anyway, back to the subtle hints pointing to Yellowstone. Another subtle hint is no place for biddies. Most searchers probably suspected a connection between no place for biddies and no place for the meek. Those two phrases invite investigation into a possible connection. And it so happens that there is a connection. A synonym for biddy is chicken, which is also related to the word meek. You can also get from biddy to meek through the word biddable. In the No Place for Biddies chapter of The Thrill of the Chase, there are a few aberrations that, when pieced together, provide a hint toward Yellowstone. The first aberration is the already mentioned naming of the chapter, No Place for Biddies. Another aberration is Forrest making a point to mention that the biddies lived in a brick house. That's an odd thing to say, and it stands out in that story. A third aberration is that the biddies taunted Forrest for not being able to cross the road by himself. Taken together, these three aberrations add up to a hint. The combination of biddy and meek points to cowardly, which points to the word yellow. Then there's the brick house, which is followed by not being able to cross the road. Put the aberrations together and you get yellow brick road, yellow brick road, yellow stone river. Forrest wrote a lot of other stories that touched on Yellowstone. Some are overt, some are subtle. It was the subtle hints about Yellowstone that gave it a blip on my radar. There was no reason for Forrest to give subtle hints about Yellowstone when he was shouting about it from the rooftops. Or rather, there was a reason for Forrest to do that. But what was the reason? What was the purpose of all of Forrest's subtle hints about Yellowstone? It's almost reflexive to think that a specific hint points to the location where Forrest hid the treasure. But there are 9 clues in the poem, and all of the clues could have had associated hints. And the hints didn't have to be referring to a clue at all. Hints could refer to one of the 4 search dates, a latitude, a longitude, the surrounding terrain, a mode of transportation, or any number of things. And since Forrest didn't spell out which of his words contained hints, it was also possible that what everyone thought was a hint was just an embellishment meant to add flavor to a story. That's one of the problems with the hints. If you look hard enough, Forrest's words can be manipulated to fit any location. With Yellowstone, however, I think there are enough subtle hints to indicate that Forrest was, indeed, hinting at Yellowstone for some reason. The question is, what was the reason? Forrest could have been hinting toward Yellowstone Lake, Yellowstone River, or Yellowstone National Park. Forrest could have also been hinting toward a broad section of the search area, and that section of the search area did not have to mean Yellowstone National Park. Or the hints could have been pointing toward the town of West Yellowstone, which is not in the park. For Forrest, maybe Yellowstone did not mean Yellowstone National Park at all. Maybe it meant the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. For someone as allergic to rules and borders as much as Forrest, that made sense to me. There were many possibilities surrounding Forrest's Yellowstone hints. Which of those possibilities was correct was unclear. What was clear was that Forrest was deliberately hinting at something within or about Yellowstone. But again, what was he hinting at? Regarding the specific line of thought that suggests that the treasure's resting location was inside Yellowstone National Park, that particular possibility earned a very low score on my probability meter. I did not dismiss it entirely, but I gave it the research time I thought it deserved, which was 0. There are a number of reasons why, but the one I am going to concentrate on in this video is a definitive statement that Forrest made. From one of Mysterious Writing's featured questions with Forrest, Forrest was asked if he thought the treasure would survive an eruption in Yellowstone. Forrest answered, "I doubt that a volcanic eruption under Yellowstone Lake would blow the treasure to bits, no matter the odds." First, note that this was a question where Forrest had time to consider his answer. This was not a live interview where he might trip over his words. Interview questions where Forrest was able to consider his words carefully and reply with a written answer carried significantly more weight with me. This was not a slip-up. This was Forrest giving a deliberate hint. I doubt that a volcanic eruption under Yellowstone Lake would blow the treasure to bits, no matter the odds. Notice that Forrest did not say that the treasure would not be affected by the blast, just that it would not be blown to bits. So, while it might be covered in 10 feet of ash, it would still be intact. How far away from Yellowstone Lake would the treasure chest have to be in order to be safe from being blown to bits? New Mexico and Colorado would be safe. One of the islands in the middle of Yellowstone Lake would probably not be safe. In addition to distance, one needs to consider elevations. Yellowstone Lake is at about 7,745 feet. If there is not a high mountain range in between the lake and the treasure chest's hiding spot, then there better be a lot of distance. For any potential treasure hiding location, the following question needs to be both asked and answered. Would the chest be blown to bits if there were an eruption under Yellowstone Lake? In my opinion, Forrest's statement about Yellowstone erupting effectively rules out most of Yellowstone National Park as the final resting place of the treasure chest. It absolutely rules out everything in the park west of Yellowstone Lake. Forrest gave a definitive statement about this subject. The treasure chest would not be blown to bits, no matter the odds. I do not see any way to reconcile Forrest's Yellowstone erupting statement with the chest's resting place being in Yellowstone National Park, especially the more popular areas of the park. But also, in my opinion, the Yellowstone hints cannot be ignored. If Forrest only included the In Love with Yellowstone chapter and left it at that, I would have no problem ignoring Yellowstone entirely. But with all the subtle hints pointing toward Yellowstone, Forrest seemed to be saying, yes, I really am hinting at Yellowstone. But why? If the chest wasn't hidden in Yellowstone, what was the purpose of those hints? Taking everything into account, I came up with two possibilities. The first was a general hint toward the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. That allowed for the chest to be hidden in, quote, Yellowstone, unquote, but still be far enough away from an eruption under Yellowstone Lake. The second possibility was a hint toward the first clue. Forrest was consistent with his emphasis that if you don't have the first clue, you don't have anything. It was possible for the poem to start in Yellowstone for the first clue and then leave it for the following 8 clues. If the first clue was as essential as Forrest implied, there's a good chance he would throw out hints pointing toward that most important clue. If you don't have the first clue, you don't have anything. If you don't understand the meaning of the Yellowstone hints, you don't have anything. Whether it's the Yellowstone ecosystem, or the first clue, or something else, the Yellowstone hints need to be explained. There are no contradictions here. Forrest's earthquake statement does not conflict with his Yellowstone hints. Both have to be true at the same time. The challenge is finding an explanation that allows for that result. Any solution to the poem without a good explanation for both the earthquake statement and for the Yellowstone hints is very likely incorrect.